Good evening and welcome to another community conversation. This evening, we continue our series, Pride of Ownership. As you would have known last year, we would have started with our series, So You Want to Buy, Build a House. And this is the continuation of that conversation. This evening, I have a beautiful panel with me. I'm going to let them introduce themselves shortly. But we just want to thank you, first of all, for joining with us. You could be doing anything else right now, but you chose to join in with us, and we want to say we appreciate that. So before the evening goes a little further, I'm just going to say a short word of prayer. Dear Lord, we just thank you once again for bringing us to the end of another week, but the beginning of a beautiful one. So Father, we ask that this evening's conversation, we pray that all the information that will be given by this beautiful panel, we pray that we will be able to use it, we'll be able to implement it in our different homes. And I pray that everything will continue to go smoothly. I pray that you will bless the hands of each of their businesses, that they will continue to prosper. Father, this evening, we pray that we realize that it's not just about the scriptures and everything that is important, but this is also the aspect of community. And we thank you for them. We thank you for each person viewing as well. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. So as I said, we are continuing the conversation, pride and ownership. And this evening specifically, we're going to be talking about landscaping and maintenance. Now, for those of you that may not know me, my name is Claire. And outside of all the other things that you know me for, which is graphics and everything like that, I am also a really strong plant enthusiast. I have a lot of plants. There's some people in this panel tonight that have encouraged me in that as well. And I'm going to have some fun having this conversation with them. So without further ado, I'll start with Robert and Margaret. So you can go ahead, tell us a little bit about who you are, share a little bit about your business and how you got into this.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Margaret, as Claire said. I work along with my husband. We do lawn maintenance, and he do extra than me, so he will have to tell you what he do. So I
No
have just
problem.
assist him in work.
No
Over to
problem.
you, sir.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Robert, for those who don't know me. Um, I've been doing landscaping now for almost 31 years.
Wow.
Almost 31 years. Started in 90 when I first bought my first Suzuki van, and I've continued from then till now. Um, I've recently renamed my business um, Masterpiece Driving School. I also do driving school, Masterpiece Driving School and Landscaping Services. And I also do a plant business called Bonsai, the Japanese art of keeping plants for the years.
All right. Robert, I just want to correctly hear what you just said. You said you've been doing this for 31 years?
Approximately.
That's almost as old as
Approximately.
almost as old as me. And I'm not sure how to feel about that, but we will continue. All right. So thank you very much, Robert and Margaret. Let's go right on to Arundel.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Arundel, as you've just heard, I have been involved, not in landscaping for that long, but I've been involved in agriculture practically all my life. I started as a farmer doing both livestock, but mainly vegetables. Then I broke away from that for a while and I did some studying at community college. I have an associate degree in applied science / agriculture. And after that, I worked for the biggest landscaping company in Barbados. But I am not one who can work for people. And after a year and 8 months, I ventured out and started my own landscape business. June this year would be 20 years now that I have been working for myself as a landscaper, but I've always worked for myself in other areas of venture.
Okay.
And I am a business person, more or less. I've gone back into a little farming, vegetable farming, but mainly livestock farming. I do free range layers, I do layers, and I have a farm shop. And presently, I have another business in mind that if things work well, I should be starting that this year.
That's actually really good to hear, and that's actually very encouraging too. Because as you see, sometimes people would say, start all your businesses when you are young, but there's never an age that you can limit yourself to. That you can continue to grow as you continue to go through life. So thank you very much, Arundel. And Chesterfield. Yes, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Chesterfield Ramsey. I've been in landscaping for, well, not as long as Robert. I mean, my goodness, I think it was in school when he started. But anyway, right? Yeah, but I was in it from, I would say about 22 years ago, roughly, or a little more, 24. I got involved in landscaping from a young age. When I was young, I always loved plants, loved gardening. So I started my own kitchen garden at home. But then my mom wanted me to work in the bank. I know she's listening right now. She wanted me to work in the bank, but nah, bank wasn't for me. I love outdoors. So I just went and I started doing little small courses at Polytechnic, skills training. And then I went doing a job attachment at Royal Westmoreland, and they kept me. So from there, that really catapulted me into really seriously. So I worked at Westmoreland for about 3.5 years. Then from there, I just went from different properties all over the island to work. I just came out to 18 years in Sandy Lane, my house in Sandy Lane, this mansion in Sandy Lane. And so I started my business last year. I mean, it wasn't the ideal time to start, but I did it. But I was doing it on the side, like little weekend here, little weekend there, doing little lawns here. But yeah, so that's basically what I do. I do lawn maintenance, just like Robert, but I also do, I treat plants too for pests. I also do small landscapes for now. As Mr. Evelyn said, we look at the branch out, we're looking for the big with some big landscapes. So as I said, for now, we just starting with small landscapes. Yeah, that's basically it.
Oh, well, it's fair enough to say that we have a well-educated panel here. Between all of y'all, that is a lot of years of experience. So you are in for a good conversation. I hope that you have your notebooks and you are taking these points and tips that this panel will be giving you for free, but yes, please. All right, so before we go any further, I'm someone that likes to have clarity. So we've been hearing these words: landscaping, gardening, maintenance. So let's start first of all by defining what those things are so that everybody has a clear understanding, and then we'll go from there. So I'll throw this question out. What is landscaping? What does landscaping entail? And is there any difference between landscaping and gardening? Anybody?
I'll start off you.
All right, go ahead, Arundel. Go ahead, Arundel.
Yeah. I wrote it down because I want to say it very slowly, right?
Yes.
Landscaping is the utilization of elements such as soil, plants, stones, or various structures to create beauty or to create a desired function on property.
All right. All right. Anybody else has anything that they want to add to that?
That's actually well said. It actually is that, because it can include a lot of things. When you hear landscape, you're thinking about gazebos and the stepping stones, not just plants, but you got the overall infrastructure of the garden itself on one property. So that could be anything,
So you would say that there's any differences then between landscaping and gardening, or?
Yeah. Yep. And Robert, we had a discussion there. Robert, tell me, please.
Go ahead, Robert.
Basically, you could say that gardening fits into landscaping. Gardening basically is looking after a garden or a small area of garden, looking after the pruning and the turning off the soil and that kind of thing. But when we come with landscaping, now we're looking at a broad spectrum of what you're doing. You can landscaping can mean bringing in soil and putting down soil, forming and shaping bed, forming and shaping the area around your house to make your house look as beautiful as possible. But gardening is just, and it varies, I guess, if you're doing it with fruit gardening, this is fruit and vegetable gardening, or if you're doing flower gardening. It's basically the same thing, but it's less, I consider it to be less as a gardener than a landscaper.
All right. Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to landscaping, right?
Sure.
In landscaping, you have basically two types of landscaping. You have soil scaping, which is like Robert was just saying, it has to do with putting in soil and plant. And then you have hardscape. Hardscape has to do with pavements, boulder walls, retaining walls, anything to do with rocks and setting up ponds and waterfalls and all of these different things. So one, you have the softscape, which is plants and soil. Then you have the hardscape that has to do with the building of structures on a property itself.
Right. So it's safe to say then that landscaping is not just about getting your grass cut every couple of weeks, and that there's a lot more that goes into this, right?
Getting your grass cut really is not landscaping enough. For instance, sometimes in the news you hear that the police arrested this guy and he's a landscaper. That's grass. He's not a landscaper, right? He is more into garden maintenance. But he is not a landscaper. Landscaping has to do, I say this here. One day I very naughtily said to some person, I'm like God. They probably thought I was sacrilegious. I said, what I do? I create beauty out of chaos. When we go and we see a new house that has just been built, all around there's rubble, there are rocks, there's stones, there trees, there everything, and all you see is a bunch of confusion. The landscaper now goes onto a property where there's confusion, there's nothing existing, and he is able to visualize and to see beauty where you can't, because you are seeing rubbles, but beauty, and hence he is able to go in and to remove all the rubble, remove everything, and build beauty from scratch. That is what landscaping is.
Okay. All right. So let's continue along that straight. So remember that we're talking now to new homeowners, and we're talking to people that already have homes. So let's deal with the new homeowners. As you were just talking about, that you may come onto a plot, you may just see rocks, rubble, grass, just everything anywhere, right? Why is it important to include landscaping first of all? So what is the first thing that people should come in and talk to you about first? Let's go to Chester.
Okay, so one of the first things they should talk about is what they like, because sometimes we as landscapers can have actually ideas in our head. We can have tons of ideas, but then guess what? They don't like the idea. So first, this is what I do. I mean, something might differ, but this is what I do. I find out what you like to see, what you like around you. Some people don't like flowers. They got people that hate flowers. You know, got people that don't want to step in stones. They just want lawn. They want to walk across the grass. They don't care about the stones. So they got so much different things. So the first thing I ask is, what do you like to see? What do you want? And then I advise them on, all right, some people might want trees in places that might not. I won't recommend that, like trees near your house, and then that's, the next 10 years, your foundation rocking or something, or near a footpath. You get what I mean? So, I mean, I ask them first, what do you want? What you like? What you love to see? Because most human beings on earth have seen gardens. And most human beings love something about, they have seen a garden. I like this style. I like that. So that's the first thing I ask. I don't know if I'm going to add, but that is, I ask, what do you love to see? What do you love? I can recommend, but what do you love? What will make you happy? That type of conversation I just have with my clients.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in?
Rephrase the question again, Claire.
Right. So basically, a new homeowner is coming to you and they don't want to consider the landscaping aspect. They've got no clue. What would you approach to them? How would that conversation look like?
Okay. Well, just like Chester, what you have to do is you have to, because at the end of the day, they have to live on that property.
True.
So you talk to people and you pull out of them. You're like a psychologist now. Pull out of them what they really want. Listen to them, right? I ask questions like, what colors do you like? I will say to a person, listen, the next time you're driving, take your cell phone and any plants you see that you like, just take some pictures and send to me. Because now I am building it, but I am not building it for me, I'm building it for them. So you try to find out what this person wants, what they like, and then you start from there. Now you're going to find that sometimes a lot of things that they want or like is not really good for them or for their garden, like Chester have just been saying.
Sure.
Trees, where you may want to put a tree, the plot may be too small for a tree because you put in a nice little small tree today, but 3 years from now, that tree is a monster.
Right.
And that tree is going to take up all the garden, is going to destroy all the lawn, and the percentage of shade is going to destroy the rest of the garden. So all you have is a tree. So our job is to listen, see what they want, and tell them what will work and what will not work.
Anything you want to add to that, Robert and Margaret?
Absolutely nothing much more than that. It's basically along the same line. Yeah. Along
Okay.
the same line. You always listen to what they're saying, and you give them the advice. Because a lot of persons, as Chester was saying, and they was saying, a lot of persons really don't know how difficult things will turn out later on. A lot of people like palm for sure, and palms are one of the most dangerous. Palms and coconut, the palm family, coconut and so on, one of the most dangerous plants to have around your water drain, around your toilet drain, and around your ground. So a lot of people don't know that. So this is what they were saying, exactly that, and the advice you give them along that line. And your swimming pools, sorry. They don't like swimming, they love swimming pools. They love swimming pools. Yeah.
Okay. Chester, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Also, all right, I know you're speaking from new owners that don't have an existing garden, but how about if you bought a property? No.
Right.
And for that, I will go around the property. I can say, well, again, we gotta still ask the same question. What do you love to see? Because it might buy the property because it maybe nice area, nice view, whatever. What do you love to see? And then we would suggest now how we could improve on the property. Improve on the look, improve on the, I guess, the equity of the property, if you want to fancy words. What we can move, what we could trim back. Because, like, for instance, even Robert and Arundel had mentioned about trees. Some people love trees in the front of the house, but there's also there's forget that they got power lines. And especially you see palm trees. I see people plant palm trees in front of the house. I was like, you kidding me, right? Near a power line. In 5 years, when the things start to drop, they can drop by power lines. Also, right? Whenever anybody started thinking about plants, don't think how the plants look now. Think about how the plants gonna look in 5, 10 years, and we going on down the road. You gotta think about that.
Okay. No, you started to mention so many things that you should, that you've experienced that people would want and that they don't like. But just before we exhaust that question, are there any other things that you would ask people to avoid? Let me do the avoid first, and then some stuff for them to consider. So I'll start back with you again, Chester. So in your experience, avoid in terms of the same landscaping. So you were talking about the palm trees, and Robert mentioned about them, especially near to drains and the power lines. Are there any of those other instances where, things like that may come up that we may not even know because we just see something and it looks good and we want that, but it may not be plausible, especially for where we live?
Yeah. Well, I know for sure they got certain hedgings. That like ficus. Ficus is one. I guess everybody will know like ficus. The ficus near a grease trap or anything. So some people's planting like I would say 5 feet away from the grease trap, and believe it or not, or even 6 feet. And in 10 years, 5 to 10 years, the roots inside the grease trap, and you want to know where your toilet clog up or something clog up, you see the roots. I've had that many times. Or if you got outside wells, they got the thing called a tap root. The little small root that's getting in there, and when they get inside the well itself, and they find that water thing, they're gonna send out so much little small roots through the cracks, and then boom, you'll never believe a big root inside your tank. Right. So that's one thing I would not recommend. Also, when you're doing lawns, I would recommend drainage. Always think about drainage of your property. Trying to get water not to settle on your property. That's one of the things that's the don'ts. I would think always look for drainage. Look for where you could drain water, or water coming off the roof where you want it to go, and a whole set of stuff. But as we go on, I guess we can mention stuff that will help, keep the water from damaging your lawn or your garden bed or whatever. And recommendations. Anybody else?
Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that list?
As Chester was saying, the drainage is very important. Therefore, the soil that you use is also very important. The correct soil for lawns and the correct soil for garden beds, the different types of soil you will use for garden beds as you will use for lawns. You understand? If you use too much of the solid, what we call Barbadian dirt, the Barbadian solid dirt, afterward that can begin to clog. But if you can add different things to it to make it drain a lot better, that is also very good. Maybe on the issue of plants, one of the things that, as we were asking, we ask them what they like and what they don't like. One of the things you also got to ask people when they're first gonna be with the landscaping is, are you allergic to anything? Because there are plants that some people have allergies and cannot bear flowers that's not that nice sweet scent. Lady in Night gives a beautiful scent, but people who have allergies will never be able. I mean, yeah, people do Lady in Night, but if you put Lady in Night side of flower, you will know if you have allergies. It is the sweetest thing in the world.
I'm Musiana to Robert Musiana, famous one.
And this is a beautiful flower comes out, sweet, sweet, sweet. Also, the bougainvillea. The bougainvillea is a very lovely plant. It's one of the most beautiful flowers we have in Barbados. But if you get a allergic reaction to the thorns, you are in big trouble. It is very poisonous. A lot of people don't know that thorns on the bougainvillea are very poisonous, and some people reaction to it after they get sick is a lot different than some people. I can get sick. I can let them a couple of days, but some people, they have to go to the hospital after they get sick with bougainvillea. So things like that, you ask questions. Are you allergic to anything? Are you allergic to smell? Are you allergic to, you understand? Those kind of questions.
Okay. Arundel, anything?
Claire, I'd like to go back to what Robert was saying and what he started on with soil. Soil is not just soil, right? We do landscape using two elements. One, either topsoil, or we use soil mix. And there's a completely, let me start with the soil mix. The soil mix is really a combination of composted stuff, could be some farmyard manure, factory mud, factory ash, some soil, and the guys get a bobcat and mix this together. When they're finished, you have very light and a very light and workable element that you're using. You could actually take your hands and push right down into that. For plants, put in flowering plants, they love that for a lot of reasons. One, the nutrients level in it is very high because you're using either the factory ash or the factory mud plus farmyard manure, whether it is poultry manure or horse manure. So you have a very nutritious medium that you're using. And when you put because it is light, the plant roots want to run. Those plant roots in Barbados, we say take off, and the roots are going in all direction. The more roots you have, the healthier plant you're going to have above the soil, because those roots are pulling in a lot of water and a lot of nutrients. Now, for the person that doesn't know what they do, or for some landscapers, they get some topsoil. Somebody building a house, excavator comes, push off the topsoil, and they try to build gardens out of that. Now that is a recipe for disaster, because our soils in Barbados are basically clear soils. Clear soils have very fine particles, and when they're wet, they come together, they suck in a lot of water, they come together, and they block all of what in sense we would call the air spaces that are in that soil. So when you have a plant in there, you have this clear soil comes together full of water, it sucks in everything like a sponge, and it displaces all the oxygen that should be in that soil. You know what happens? Within a few days, your plant roots cease to be white, they turn brown, and your plant dies. The problem with the clear soils is that they're taking a lot of moisture, but when the sun comes out, it actually bakes that soil like if you had put it into an oven. And so the plant root not able to penetrate through this very hard soil. So like Robert was saying, foundation is very important. You want to start using, if you're using topsoil, we use topsoil for lawns, but we would scarcely ever use the topsoil to farm garden beds.
Right.
Okay. Robert, you wanted to say something just now, or?
Basically, on the point of composting, let's add composting at this point. I would one of the things I would recommend. Let me say it later on. But composting is very, very good. Composting, where you use your compost, all your scraps from home, and if you can compost your scraps, they're very, very good for your garden beds also. Very good.
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to get into that part about gardens and kitchen gardens a little bit later, right? But I want to segue to this question because this was actually going to be my next question, but someone sent it in. So I'll flow with it now. Should landscape planning come in initial stages of planning to build a home or at the end when the house is finished?
Beginning. I'm going to give them a chance to talk.
So let's go to Robert. Let's go back to Robert and Margaret. So when should someone consider it?
I would say as soon as possible. I mean, if you can arrange it from the beginning, I think it would be better. It would be better if you can arrange, have an idea of what you want to see or what you want to look like from the beginning. Instead of everything is finished, then you'll be able to prepare well ahead of time how much material you plan to bring in, where you're going to put it, and so on. So I would recommend after you see the plans and you see the drawing, even before you see the property, you can see the plans and see the drawing and have a good idea what you're going to do. Then when you get to the property, your eyes open a lot wider to what you're doing. So I would say as soon as you possibly could do it, I would do it.
Okay. So what hope is there for people that have already built their home, have already got, some stuff in place? What are some steps that they can take into consideration?
Somebody
Because there are people that will be watching that already have homes and now they might want to take on this topic of landscaping, but they've already got things there. So what can they do?
Okay, I can answer. And the first thing they could do is consult somebody, a landscaper or a gardener if they want to, because some gardeners have the knowledge of a landscaper, right? And they can consult somebody that knows about plants and bring them around the property and then advise them or how to make it better, how to maybe take out some plants, replace it with this other plant. Yeah, take out. Yeah, I use the word take out some. Mm-hmm. Yeah, switch around here. Improve the look of the garden. I know some people don't like it, but stepping stones, put grit here some places. Because they got some places that when water fall, the lawn just don't grow. And then they got different ways of drainage. And again, we going back to that same term, drainage. Yeah. Where I'm just give you a slight little thing. What I learned in Westmoreland is something I really learned from when I first started. We had a problem with the water coming off the roof, and what we did, we dig up the lawn nicely. We didn't butcher it. We just dig it up in a way that you could put it back when you finish. We put grit up onto the lawn, and then place some little dirt on there with sand. Some areas we use sand and some we did not. And we put back the same grass on top, put sand on top of it, and that acted as a very good drain. Simple little backyard drain that we did, and it worked. So as I said, consult a landscaper, somebody that knows what's going on about your property. When you already have an existing garden, bring in somebody that knows and somebody that will direct you on how to also not directly by trying to get your garden looking. You understand? That will help you save money. Because they got certain that people can do themselves without us. I mean, I'm not sounding for businessman, but something that they could do to help save them some money, basically.
Right. Yeah, and go ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest from the moment your house plan is finished and drawn, you should start thinking landscaping. I'll tell you why. A lot of people build a nice house, $400,000, $450,000 without a thought of landscaping. When they're finished now, they're trying to get some landscaping done, but they have no money. So once your house plan is finished, you know what that house is going to cost you to build. That person should be thinking about landscaping. And when you go to the bank, landscaping should be incorporated in the cost of your loan. And it isn't going to be a lot of money. The landscape is usually roughly about 2 to 3% of what your house would cost. So it is a very small component of the cost, especially, but it depends also on how much grounds you have available, right? So if people were to do this in the early stage, they would just not have as much problems as they should. For those who already have a house going, like Chester was saying, sometimes it's best to just dig up everything and start all over, because it isn't about saving plants, it's about creating beauty. So you have to decide, what do I want? Do I want to save some plants that are put in the wrong place, the wrong position, and all this type of stuff, or do I want to have beauty?
Okay. All right. That's no, these are some things that I didn't even know. I thought I was a plant enthusiast, but now I'm realizing that I don't really know much about it. So thank you so far for that information. You started to mention briefly on the cost, Arundel, but I guess it will kind of be difficult to say a set cost for everybody. But what does landscaping cost look like?
No, what we do is we come to your place, and some of us can do the designing, where we do the sketching, and up front, we know exactly what is going to go into your landscape. For instance, when I give a person a quotation, I do my measurements. I know I am going to need 20, 30, 40 cubic meters of topsoil, 15 cubic soil mix. I know every plant that's going into onto your property and where it is going. So I do not give people global quotations. Some person said, okay, this is $40,000, not 40, this is $10,000, right? No, I don't give people a quotation saying $10,000. I give a quotation saying soil is going to be $1,500. Bobcat is going to be $1,000. Soil mix is going to be this. Plants, right? And I would specify all the plants you're going to get, and you know what your plants are going to cost you. You even know what profit I am going to make on the job, right? Labor cost, things. So upfront, you can have an idea. When you have an itemized quotation, you can decide, okay, can we cut back on this one? Can we cut back on something else? So upfront, you know what it is going to cost. And as I said to you, it would just cost about 3% of your total loan from the bank. But at the end of the day, that landscaping that has just cost you only 3% is going, let's say you build a place and you want to sell it. That's going to add between 15 to 20% onto the value of your property.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else want to add to that? No?
Obviously.
I didn't hear that, Robert. Sorry.
You would normally quote persons on what you intend to bring.
Right.
I think that's the best policy.
So, okay, so before we go into a different topic, how often should we undertake or consult with landscaping and landscapers?
This is after you have built the house?
Yeah, you've got the house now, you've had the discussions, as you would have mentioned, have that initial consultation. So now I've got something going, I've got something started. How often now should I have you come over? How often should I call you? What does that look like?
I believe that is going to vary according also to the rainy season, the seasons that we have in Barbados. But I feel as often as possible, in the rainy season, you would want to be there at least twice a month. I recommend at least twice a month. Some people think that might be too often, but there's so many things that can happen in a garden that can start leading the garden astray. That if you don't keep abreast of the situation early, you can lose a lot of your plants. So I would recommend in the rainy season, you come more often than in the dry season, but as often as possible. Sometimes you have persons who have their property and they figure about it's the dry season, so I don't really want you coming around so often. You come like every 3 months and so on. Then you get back there's so many plants that have dieback on them that started dieback here and dieback there. If you were there, you didn't recommend different things so you can keep them alive. During dry season, a lot of plants die out, a lot of people not aware, a lot of your lawns dry out also, and people not aware. For instance, I had a job in Silver Sands many years ago, and it wasn't a job I had. A lady called me about this job, and she told me she don't understand why the grass is not going to this side of the house. The grass never goes to the eastern side of the house. and she was wondering why. So when I got there and I saw the hedge was pretty high, I realized that even during the season, when you have a couple sprinkles of rain, all the other parts of the lawn was getting rain except under the hedge. And therefore, when the sun goes on in the evening, that part gets the last bit of sun, which means that ground is so dry and brittle that 2 little drops of rain will never bring the grass there. So I had to recommend her to take the hedge down so that whatever little rain falls or whatever little water she can put on it, it will start to grow. And in a couple of months, she started getting grass under the eastern part of the hedge. But the hedge was too high, and whatever little rain was falling on the other part of the lawn, lawns were green over there, but just under the hedge was dry. So I would recommend that you would monitor the situation, monitor the weather, and twice a month and once a month and certain times a year. I recommend, but not every 3 months. That doesn't make sense.
Not every 3 months. Okay. All right. Chester?
Or for new brand house now that the garden fresh, I think the landscape might have to come. Some people, well, what I do, I normally sit down with my client and give them for the first 3 months after, I give them a plan where it will come much more often than Robert said, because it's got a lot of stuff is creeping. Like, for instance, if you got a fresh lawn, you got weeds that's coming in between the lawn, you gotta go pick those out. When you got a nice fresh soil, and you water it and everything, guess what's grow? Weeds. Weeds love nice. It's the only plants that love nice soil mix and with sheep manure in it and factory material. It's not only plants, the weeds love it too. So obviously somebody gonna maintain it. Maintain the edge of a garden bed, because there should be edge between the lawn and the garden bed. A lot of other stuff you gonna maintain. Then you obviously gotta check to make sure that everything in place. So that is basically for a new brand person. But as Robert said, if it was an established garden, well, yeah, every 2 weeks in rainy season, dry season, some people go over every 3 weeks. But as Robert, I think Robert had mentioned, don't wait too long, because you wait too long, you're looking at a higher cost for the same landscaper garden to come back and maintain it. The higher the grass, the more money. The more work to be done is more money. That's simple. And that's as simple as I can put it for you, Claire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, just 2 weeks is good during rain season, and then 3 weeks in dry, because obviously it ain't growing as fast. But
okay. The time is going along so quickly, and I'm enjoying this conversation. But let's move quickly along. I'm going to point this question to Arundel first, and then you guys can jump in. So we've talked about the landscaping. So now we want to talk about the maintenance part as well, and how different aspects can complement that. So Arundel, I would like you to talk a little bit about irrigation systems, rain barrels, water tanks, and any of those things that can help complement the landscaping.
With a lot of new buildings that are going up today, what they're actually doing is putting in tanks that taking the water off the roof. I was just doing a job. I'm still doing a job in St. George, and they have a tremendous underground tank. You would drive over that tank and don't know, but they're storing all of their water, and that water is going to be pumped out of the tank and into the garden. The floor of some people's garage is actually water tanks. So you're not seeing the black, ugly tanks, but for new buildings, they're actually building their buildings with water tanks already in place that are buried.
Wow, I didn't even know that you could do the water
tanks.
And
most well-organized gardens have irrigation built into the gardens themselves. For lawns, you would walk across a lawn and you don't know, but they're what we call sprinklers buried under that lawn. The moment the water pressure hits them, those sprinklers come above the soil and they're wetting the lawns. Then the garden beds themselves may have drip irrigation, and the drip irrigation is spaced sometimes between 12 inches, 18 inches. You have the drippers, and these would supply the water for the garden beds for your flowering plants. Now, in association with the drip system acting like this, there's also a little technology. They're time clocks. So you can go in and set those clocks to water every day, to water for 15 minutes a day, to water 20, 25 minutes, whatever it is. And you don't have to touch anything at all. It is already programmed and it works. The only thing that may set it off is if the electricity goes off for some time and it affects the clock. But even with that, those clocks have a small battery in them that will hold them for a while.
Okay.
So this isn't a matter of any person going out there now with garden hose any longer and sprinklers wetting and wasting water. Everything is automated more or less.
All right. Anybody else want to add?
Yeah, but he's saying, all right, what Arndell saying is very good. But also, I have bought the last couple months. Some people that can't afford the whole setup with the pump and everything. Cause obviously, people say, man, that pump running does electricity and blah blah blah.
Right.
I was able to put in a simple little drip system in a garden, and it worked. It's simple. You go and I went and get the hoses from the irrigation place. I do a little flicky onto the pipe. So all they have to do is just attach it onto the pipe, screw it on, turn on the pipe, and the whole garden get wet. They got some little micro sprinklers you could drink inside the same 12-inch hose. They got some is carrying a little micro sprinkler that do a little spin and it might wet the lawn on small gardens. This is for small gardens, people. I'm just making sure I'm very clear. Right, Arndell? This small gardens. Not the big ones, okay?
Yeah.
And this is a little for little small houses that could, so you're gonna get out there and water, and the person and the people were happy. Just go on turn the pipe for about half an hour, according to what time of season it is. If it's dry, they might turn on for an hour, just leave it and it's dripping. And it worked good. So that's another add-on to what Arndell said. He was very thorough.
Yeah.
But even in what you mentioned, Chesterfield, they're small characters, seldom. They don't last very long though. They're small little dull things that you could actually set them.
Yeah.
They're having 2 or 3 little batteries. They will probably give you 6 months if you're good. And then they go back. But you can do that for small gardens also.
Okay. Robert,
Yeah.
Robert,
I actually recommend that. I recommend that, but people don't like it because of the tummy span, as you said, right? So
Right.
they prefer to go there, and some people do that. So yeah, but that's good though.
So let's keep on this, the cost-effective ways in terms, with the same irrigation systems at what's not. Robert, we were talking earlier about the rain barrels, and somebody may not have, I'm not sure like the cost of, the big black tanks. And as Arndell was mentioning, the newer homes and the buildings are coming now with the stuff underground. But if we don't have that and we're trying to save some money, what are some suggestions that we can still implement at home?
Yeah, the same big barrel that the people have been using for garbage cans for years, as long as you want with holes, of course, the ones that don't have any holes, you can use them and set them at the corner of your house where the roof drains into the corner. I want to have a nice system where the roof drains to the corner, and you can set them at the corner and place the hose that's coming down into the drum. Some people use the covers themselves and put a hole into the drum and seal it properly with some kind of sealant or with a netting. The whole idea is that you don't want mosquitoes to get in. You put it in such a way that mosquitoes don't get in. It fills it, and that rainwater can be used very, very well. Have a system before you even start to set up the bar under the corner for the water running. You also install a tap. Make sure that the drum is elevated enough that when you turn on the tap, the pressure will push your water out. Connect your hose to it, connect your drain to it, and it will work the same way. And you can have water, it can save instead of using the pipe water and your water bill going up. Once you have those drums set up 1 or 2, 4 or 5 feet in the air, somebody 6 feet in the air, the water will drain into your garden system, and you have to just wet your gardens and so on. In my case, I use, just going back to what Arndell was talking about, the little things that cars sell, and they'll have some over a year old, and they work very well. I have them ready on my bonsai, and they work very well over a year old. Yes, I've lost some before, but they can last. And so a person who's just starting now or who doesn't have the amount of money to pay for an electrical system, Carter sell them, and I think they're only like $100 each, and you can get a full year out of them. a full year. I've gotten a full year out of mine in the yard. I still have a year out of mine. And they work very well. But with the same barrels, you can also have the barrels connected to the same system. And once the system comes on, it will wet the plants. And when it's airy, it will go out by itself. And it only carries 2 double air batteries. And that is very, very cheap for a whole year. The batteries got replaced, though. The batteries gonna last a year. Probably have about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. Anybody, that's it? Anybody else have any other cost effective ways or?
Robert earlier mentioned composting. One of the things people could do is stop blowing all the leaves, put in garbage bags and sending to the landfill, right?
Yeah.
Those same leaves, compost them and mulch your gardens heavily. And it means that it is going to conserve a lot of the moisture that is in the garden bed itself.
Okay. So let's keep.
But that's the point, Ardell. Composting. Not only do you take these scraps and put them in the garden bed, but they're very nutritious when you do that. You can take the ends of scraps and put them in the garden bed. Allow the flowers, allow the leaves to also stop in the garden beds. And when you turn up the soil with the leaves and the flowers in the garden bed, they're very nutritious. If you look at any jungle, or you go to any jungle area, the trees are green and lush. Everything you want to bare mulching, all these are there mulching for years because nobody's going to rip them up. The trees are very, very healthy. I find that owners and barbers do not like leaves in the garden. They do not like flowers in the garden. But if they leave the leaves to be there and the flowers, and just trying a couple ends of banana leaves and banana skins and potato skins and so on, they will surprised to see what can happen. The garden begins a lot healthier than if you just rake everything straight in the garbage and then go and buy fertilizers from carriers. That is the most nutritious. Not only that, as we go a little further also, the one that you can't throw into your garden bed, find a compost area. And every time you cut your lawn, every time you cut trees, pull them up. If you leave them there for a year and you're going to put your hand there, as Ariel said, your hand goes into this compost. It's so very good. And it is extremely healthy for you. We throw away too much of the things that are good for our garden, then we go and spend $60 and $80 at carrots every month. Waste of time.
And I know Robert said when you cut the grass to compost it. Some people tend to cut the grass and put it straight in the bed. Now the grass has something called nodes. Now when you do put it, when you do cut and put it immediately, believe it or not, it will catch. It will catch because you're gonna water the same bed. When you water the same bed with the same grass that's fresh, you know what's gonna happen. You're gonna got extra lawn inside the garden bed. So it's very good for Robert said to compost it first. Like right on that right.
Put in the area.
All right, so since we're talking about gardening and composting, let's talk a little bit about kitchen gardens. So let's start with the don'ts first. What are some things that you would not advise people to do when they're starting a kitchen garden? Let's go back to you, Chester.
Well, all right, and too much over. I mean, I know kitchen gardens, but the don'ts. Well,
because I see people take a lot of different like appliances, different cans.
All right. Okay, so it don't says make sure the can. Whatever can you put it in, it can drain.
Right.
And this is what I recommend. Is what I do. Some people say not. Some gardeners say not. Some say no. But this is what I do. So this is Chesterfield's rule. Okay, Chesterfield rule is you put some sort of grit at the bottom of that container to help keep your soil a little longer in the container. Because check it, you put holes in the bottom of this thing. Some people put some really big holes. You don't need a big. Some people take like big as a let me see what they use as a PVC pipe. I went a place that was as big as a PVC pipe. I was like, oh, okay, no, you understand? But no, some little small holes, me pencil size could work, and then you put a layer of grit or stones. If you find stones when you want to put them to a level. I mean, about an inch or so if you could get to that much, and then put your soil on top. So that at least it would drain properly, one, but two, the soil won't be escaping because you got your nice soil mix that you paid for. You don't want in 6 months, even some a year that you lose all because it's deeper down underneath. And you want it? Somebody carry my soil. Somebody carry and carry my soil and put in a plastic bag and carry it. You don't want go on and thoughts in your head. So that's basically that's one do's and don't of that kitchen garden. Like first thing, container and the type of container and yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and soil. Always got, as Arndell talked about soil earlier, good soil mix with some nice sheep manure in it. I think it would be good for it. It will help boost it.
Okay.
Anybody
Robert,
else?
I would
Robert,
say
let's-
don't
oh,
don't
go ahead.
use topsoil.
Don't use topsoil.
Don't go and just dig out some soil from the neighbors or lot or so. That's failure right there.
Oh, wow.
Nothing was going to come in there properly. Like he was saying, it's best to get go and buy some soil mates or go into your compost heap if you have a compost heap and get that stuff and put in there. Because if you were to use soil, it is going to bake, it is going to get hard, and nothing is going to grow well.
Mhm. Robert, Margaret, let me hear from Margaret a little bit about the kitchen gardens. Anything else? Any tips? Any suggestions?
To prevent the slugs and things from coming in and eating your plants when you don't plant them, any worms and things, you can use like the orange peel. Instead of throwing it away, you can use the orange peel in the garden, put it inside the garden to keep around the plants. You can use eggshells. What else you can use? That's why you can use the eggshells and use the orange peel. And when the slugs come in and they don't like because the orange peel give off a scent light.
Yes.
Right.
So it normally keep them from around and they love the shalabeni. So I have to put the orange peel around the shalabeni because when I go out there, let me eat it down to a nut.
Mhm.
So you the eggshells in there and it'll keep them away from your garden bed. And for the worms, you can use like neem to keep the neem,
Neem.
and you can spray plants with it,
Yes.
and that will help keep them off from eating your produce because they might think you're planting them and then you gotta go to the supermarket and buy them. So you can use the home remedies and keep I was watching a thing talking about turmeric. You can put turmeric and keep it away.
There are a lot of natural herbs and things that help. One of the things that a lot of people do when they're doing gardening. There are a lot of herbs that work really well together. Some herbs keep away a certain pests. So some people let the plant everything separate and far from one another. I've learned that. So there's certain herbs that keep away a certain pests from your garden. Along the same line of naturally treating insect pests and so on. A lot of neem is very one positive way of keeping away worms from your garden. Using neem, these you will find, and neem also keep away ants that you don't want.
Yep.
You will find that places have. I do a house in St. Philip, and all around this house has neem trees. It has mango trees. It has all other kind of trees, and you can climb this mango tree, and there's not one ant on his property.
Whoa.
I don't know what it don't like neem. Gas don't like neem. Yeah, so neem is one thing you can keep. I've heard it's not too well for. I heard that neem is not too good for production. It's not good for clarity. I heard that neem is not too good for young persons who have not had babies as yet, who have never had babies. I've heard that's true. So women who have never had babies before, be very careful. Just investigate for yourself. I've heard that. It's very good for keeping away pests from your garden.
Right.
It's very, very good. Also, some other things that keep away pests in your garden. This is very, very good. Try to use as much as natural things in your garden as possible, and try to keep away from the chemicals that you buy from the pharmacy, from the hardware store, as much as possible.
You also have Epsom salts. Very good. It can act as a fertilizer. It can also act as a deterrent for caterpillars and different stuff. The recommended dose is 1 tablespoon per gallon. I don't know if I'm right here. Right? Well, 1 tablespoon per gallon. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's really recommended because you do too much of that in water, it could burn. Like salt, it could burn. Also, I have another do and don't with the same kitchen garden. Now, obviously, people you can be using containers. When you using whatever container you use, make sure the plant you think about how big the plant is get, how big okra trees get, or how big sweet peppers get. you can't go put it in some little small little skillet that you know that when it gonna topple over eventually. You know, think about where you gonna with the size of the plant when it matures, and also if the fruit on it, if it can make if it can hold the weight of the fruit that on the plant or what vegetable you're using, whatever, basically.
Okay. All right, so thank you for that. And let me just add on to what Robert said. I'm familiar with the planting certain herbs and stuff with other plants. So I learned that one thing for sure when I was working at the Ministry of Agriculture. So that's called companion gardening. So for those of you that may be watching, you know, you want to research that, you can look up those terms. So thank you guys so much for those tips. We're going to begin to wind down, but let me just ask this question for some people that may want to do some of that same landscaping and maintenance for themselves in the interim where they may not be able to give you guys a call. What are some tools that these homeowners can acquire that they can safely do some of these tips on their own? Let's go to Arundel.
All right. Let me start.
Yeah, let's go Arundel. We'll come back to you, Robert.
Yeah. I would suggest if a person has a lawn and it is a certain size, if it is big, you would need a lawnmower. If it isn't a very big lawn, I would just probably go with one weed whacker. And the reason why the weed whacker could do everything that the lawnmower can do, along with things that the lawnmower cannot do, right? And can work in places where your lawnmower would never be able to work. And the person would need simple things like hoe, forks, pruner, hand pruner that is, and garden, just basic tools.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add to that, Robert? Thank you, Arundel.
What I relate to my good friend here a bit is that instead of buying a lawn, I'm gonna walk up, call me and we can cut your lawn for you. I'll do a good job. But
this is in a case that they can't get to you, right? You know, they may just want to do, you know, as recreation, maybe.
Yes, of course, I understand. Yeah. But one of the things I was sure that all house owners get is gloves. Number one, get proper gloves, get blood gloves that can fit your hand properly and are waterproof wherever possible. So you want to keep, when you want to make sure when you're dealing with gardens, you want to make sure that the substance in the ground is not coming through into your hands. And what a lot of people may not realize, your body absorbs everything through your skin. Your body absorbs things through your skin. That's why so many people catch things like leptospirosis and this kind of thing. And we know that rats and mice go into your garden bed. And if they have a moist area, wet area, and those pests urinate, and you put your hand in it, they can go into the slices cut, you slice a little snip, you get even a little boil with village spray, and you can end up with leptospirosis. So one thing I recommend to people early is that you get gloves. Very essential. Make sure they're water resistant as much as possible. Also make sure they're fitting you firm on your hand, so when you pull, they don't tear off. Make sure they're not a type that can easily eat also. Number one is gloves. I recommend that for sure. Simple thing like as things that's like pruners, you know, little garden forks and proper shoes. Whether they're boots or whether they're sneakers, but proper shoes. Once again, you can also connect all kinds of sicknesses from you wearing the wrong shoes. And if your shoes get wet, you don't want them in the garden. Once again, where you can have collect all kinds of sicknesses. So proper shoes for sure, definitely proper gloves, and where possible, goggles. Worst thing you can ever do is walk in the garden bed and people there going, oh, you are miserable for the rest of your day if you don't get it out.
It is very true.
You know, even a little rock, the tiniest little pebble going, oh, it's like a ball there. Yes. So those are three things I would recommend to all first-time gardeners or homeowner gardeners. Get those three things out front: goggles, glasses, and a proper pair of working shoes. Okay. Other things too, but I'll give everybody a chance to talk.
All right, well, Chester, you're
well, it's only me. Well, it's only me. I don't know. Wow, they covered a wide base. On the gloves, I would recommend more than one pair of gloves, different types of gloves according to where your garden carry. If you're carrying thorny plants or plants that produce milk, I would get the ones, as Robert said, that really nothing can get through. On the boots part, all right, boots cheap. You got half cut boots, you got tall boots. Everybody different. And boots about between 35 to $50. You don't want steel. You want to get a steel tips. You want to do a construction or nothing, or you want to enter early as serious. But you can get boots like that. And then also, some people can't handle. Some people are allergic to certain plants. I would recommend having some old long sleeve shirts home that you keep, that you don't wear out nowhere, that you can just keep. So when you're going doing the gardening, something to protect from the sun. Some people can't handle the full effect of the sun. But then also to help with the whatever coming off a certain plant, because certain plants is give off certain things. Also a hat. Yeah, thank you, Margaret. You see that little thing there? You need a hat, a broader hat. Yes, for sure. You need a hat to protect from the rays of the sun, for sure. But also, they got some little things you could use. They got this little thing that it looks like a screwdriver, but the point is like almost like a V. That is something that I would recommend some people have to, for those who got the little house plants, where you could check out little the weeds of the garden. Some you can even turn the soil a little bit with the same thing. Any little small little hand for it, and also a big for it. So they got other things. They got a lot of other too. Oh yeah, I think I mentioned rake and shovel. And we mentioned that.
I think I
rake.
kind of mentioned.
You mentioned okay, right, the rake. I recommend, which is something that I start using in recent times. They got this all metal shovel. Because I find with it, but you want me to board. I mean, they look real nice and professional. But I find the board after a while is tend to break after a while away from it, between the bottom and the handle. So they got this metal ones. All you gotta do with it is sand it a little bit, spray paint it over again, and it gone fresh again. So stop it from rotting. So that's one of the things. Also, if you have a large property with trees, I recommend a pancart. Oh, sorry, let me put it. That's Bajan. Wheelbarrow. That sound better? You understand? A wheelbarrow, yeah. A wheelbarrow to help transport, your stuff from one part to another. Okay. So that's basically, I don't put it, yeah. Let me start.
I agree with you in terms of with that rake, because especially with the metal part, if you're digging something and it's really tough, the wooden part, I've had one that broke already.
Shovel.
Sorry. Yes, please. Yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna wrap up. No, but I have to give you all the questions that did come in. So I'll give you this last one, and then we'll wrap up after this. Somebody was asking, how do we keep away the monkeys from our kitchen gardens? Do you have any quick tips on how we can help keep them or keep them at bay completely?
Yeah. Just today, I went over by my garden, and the first thing I noticed was a dead monkey. Same as if my dog killed one last night or this morning or sometime during the day.
Oh dear.
Yeah, my dogs.
So get dogs. So get dogs is what you're saying.
Claire, before you wrap up, this and I would like to just say, I think when we consider where we are today, financially, economically, the rise of inflation and everything, people need to start growing food.
Yes.
Because vegetables, food crops are going to get more expensive. And if you go to any of the markets and spend $50, you could actually hook the bag onto your little finger and walk with it.
It is very true.
I looked at myself and I said, you deserve this. I paid $15 for one yam. And I think it was just 3 pounds of yam, right? Wow. We need to plant more food. Utilize the space that we have around our homes. Utilize any containers that we can get. We need to plant more food. Things are going to get worse in this country than they are right now. So my advice to those of you who are listening, plant some food.
I agree. Anybody else have any final advice to add to that? Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I definitely would suggest that you plant a lot more food. That's right. Simple little thing. Sweet potato is one of the simplest things in the world to plant. Sweet potato, the vine, if you get a piece of vine 6 inches long, you jerk it in the ground, it will grow. And then whenever the time comes, it will have potato on there whenever it produces. It's very simple. I suggest also simple things. We go to the supermarket every week. we spend approximately $35 in herbs.
Yes.
I recommend you buy, even if you buy a little pack of herbs, and a little pack of herbs is 3 something, and when you get home, you start a divider, you got 30 and 40 celery plants, and it's only $3 a bought. When you start a sprout there, you got 30 celery plants alone. And that's how we utilize all the containers we got. They grow in simple little containers. Just make sure you put them up. If you got things that are going to eat them by the slugs, put them up on a rock and treat around the rock with salt. Simple salt. Once you put around the rock salt on the ground, the slugs will not come. Plant a couple of tomatoes, plant a couple of peppers, plant a couple to everything, tomatoes, sweet peppers, thyme, parsley, and
Okras.
what I find is right point be very rewarding when you can go into your garden and cut off pieces of something, cut off pieces, and you bring in the house. I just feel so well rewarded. When
It
you
is true.
one thing. Oh my goodness, when the food come up tasting good, I like that was my garden.
It is true.
We need to really start planting a lot more food. Oh, and I
Yeah.
heard that we're going to spend some money on summer. Oh, another thing. If you're one of the people who go to the supermarket and buy things like thyme and those kind of things, like parsley and kind of things, do you know that those things can grow? I have thyme growing my garden that I bought from the supermarket, bought them home, used the finer one and planted the harder stalks, and they are growing now. Simple little thing you buy from the supermarket can grow up home.
Celery.
Celery, if you buy celery, the whole bottom part, cut off all the celery, stick that in a little water, and it root in 3 or 4 days, put it in the ground, and it will go the next couple of weeks. So those little things you can start going and start spending some money smart. Things as I said, things that getting hard. You need to start spending some more. All these sweet pepper seeds, all the sweet pepper seeds, all the tomato seeds. You can use them and plant them out, and you will have your own produce in a matter of time. So I suggest that also. Let's start planting our own food.
I agree. Chester, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, of course. Well, if you can't do it, how we're doing, some people say they ain't got green thumb or green finger, whatever one we want to use. Seedlings are so cheap. You can actually get one. You can get a little nursery tray with 6 cells in it for approximately $4. I mean $3. But no, if you compare to what Robert's saying, in the long run, you imagine you get 6 parsley, 6 celery, 6 whatever thyme, 6 this, and you keep that. Imagine that.
Yeah.
You know how much money you will save in the long run. It don't take long to grow, right, Robert? It don't take that long to grow. And then you could plan it as Arnell said, it cut down on your supermarket bill with that. My mom, we trying it. Well, she tried it in her yard. I try not to help her too much, so she will get hungry, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't know what to do, ask people. Ask somebody that did it already. And then also back to gardening. And let me say this with gardening. Garden takes water. It takes care. What you could help yourself is if you pass and see a weed in your garden, pull out the weed, pull it out, because you see a weed, you can end up being big later on. And weeds tend to carry something called, I see roots that go across. So you might see say one weed here, one across the other side, and sometimes just be connected.
Right.
So we got then birds just drop seeds in garden banana lawns. So in order for you to check, garden takes care. I mean, that's where me, Robert, and Arundel comes in. I mean, you could free to call us, but you could do your own little thing also in terms of your garden. Buy a Baiga 1272 if you don't want to buy the Baiga sheep manure. You could buy 1272. That works a lot in a lot of instances to help fertilize too. Robert smiling because it ain't natural, right? But that just means last time I checked, the cost less than $10.
Why a bag of 1272 when walk you look at what past the a cow was walk on the yellow back and tell people it was just I mean it was beautiful.
Robert, I recommend that man. People say, man, I don't want that cheap manure. I don't want that smell. Listen, a lot of people say they don't want the smell on the house. Can't they ain't got the smell, you know, but it doesn't. I am just giving options. I'm giving options.
So I thank you.
Okay.
I thank you for those. I thank you for those options. I thank you for those options, Chester. I think that the topic of home gardening can be a whole session on itself, and we'll see if we can probably have one of those later on in the future, because there's a lot more I know that we can discuss with that for sure. So as we begin to wrap up, I'm going to start with Robert and Margaret. Again, I just want you to tell the people about your business and how they can get in contact with you. Then we'll go to Arundel, the same thing, and then Chester. Robert, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, Arendelle, we'll go to you until Robert's camera comes back.
I can hear you, but you have frozen.
Oh, okay. So go ahead, Robert. So tell the people a little bit so that they know how they can reach you and the services that you offer, Arendelle, and then Chester.
Okay. My name is Robert Gibbs, and this is my wife Margaret. We do landscaping together. Our company is called Masterpiece Driving School and Landscaping Services. At the present moment, we do landscaping, any kind of landscaping that is possible. We're going to. At the present moment, we're mostly doing lawn maintenance at the time. If you want to get hold of any of the two of us, if you don't see us at church, you can call us at our cell numbers. My cell number is 838-4261.
You want to say that again? Say that again one more time. Just say that again one more time.
38-4261.
Okay.
And if you want any advice on landscaping, any advice on lawn maintenance, you just give us a call and we'll come and give you a free consultation. We're not like the companies who turn up and you have to pay us $50 before we get there. We give you a free consultation, and then as we move from there, we'll see how things go. So basically, that's my number. Or you can see us at church. I mean, most people know us at church. So just ask, if you don't know who is, just come and ask me who's Robert or who's Margaret. You'll find us. Thank you.
All right, Arendelle.
Yeah, Arendelle Evelyn. The name of my business is Horticultural Management Services. We do landscaping, garden maintenance, and also consultation. Because sometimes a person have a problem and they just need someone that they can call. You can come identify what are their problems and recommend the necessary curative measures. I am not totally into organics. If you have problems, there's some problems that the fastest way to cure those problems is to use an agricultural chemical. And I recommend those after pointing out and showing you what are the particular problems you might have had. So it is landscaping, garden maintenance, and consultations.
All right, thank you. And Chester?
Yes, hi, my name is Chesterfield Ramsey, and the name of my business is Landscapes by Mayhew. And I basically do landscape gardening, both. And I do small landscapes for now, as I said. I also do garden maintenance. I also deal with pests on plants. That's what I do basically. And if you want to get in contact with me, is 245-9862, or you can email me landscapesbymayhew@gmail.com. That's basically, and I'm also on Instagram, the same Landscapes by Mayhew.
All right. Well, let me just say thank you to all of you, to Robert, Margaret, Arendelle, and Chesterfield. This was a very interesting, and I learned a lot from this conversation, and I believe that our viewers that are watching with us this evening have. As we said, it's not only just about the messages that come from behind the pulpit, but we are a community. We do want to stick to that motto, which is that we go beyond membership and we're fostering community. And we've got a wealth of knowledge sitting right next to us inside of our church. So once again, thank you all so much for being a part of the panel tonight. And I hope and pray that you will continue to get some business from tonight. Your business will continue to grow from there. All right, so our online audience, thank you once again for joining with us. As I said earlier, you could have been doing anything else, but you chose to join with us this evening. I just want to remind you of our services this week. Wednesday evening, we continue our In the Word Bible study, as Sister Rosie and Reverend Gill have already continued talking about the book of Colossians, and that will be at 6 p.m. Thursday, you can join us in person. You can join us on CETA Radio, or you can join us online for our miracle service, and that will be conducted by Sister Patricia Small. And the Christian Education Department continues to take charge of the Friday night prayer meeting, and that will be Friday, and that is in person. And Emergent Youth will be upstairs also at 7 p.m. So once again, thank you for joining us for our community conversation. We hope that you will join us next week, God's Spirit Life, same place and the same time. Good night.